Welcome to our December 15th Board of County Commissioner meetings. We're going to start our morning with an invocation by Reverend Anil Singh and followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for inviting me. Let's join together in heart, mind, and spirit. Creator of our universe, author of all life, source of every need and blessing, thank you for the life we have and for the life we share. Thank you for this great nation, for our mostly sunny state of Florida, and for our beloved Martin County. And thank you for the dedicated people gathered here who give their time, talent, and energy working to make our county a better place to live. Loving one, as we celebrate our holy days in all our unique ways, give us eyes to see the things that we have in common. Grant us the courage, faith, and fortitude to love one another even in the midst of our differences and disagreements. And inspire us all to strive not only for our own good, but for the good of all. As our nation enters a new chapter in the history of our leadership, loving one, grant our leaders your wisdom to govern with justice and compassion and equanimity. In this time when we proclaim peace on earth, goodwill towards all, may we all seek to lift up the fallen, to heal the sick, to comfort the mourning, to give voice to the voiceless, and to bless people in need with what they need. A neighbor's love is a precious gift. In these days, may we all seek to share your gift of love with one another. Amen. I pledge my allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, before we start our regular agenda this morning, we have a very special treat, which I think many of us look forward to all year long. We have our children from Gertrude Waldron Child Care Center who are going to entertain us this morning with a few holiday songs. So welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Greetings from Gertrude Walden Child Care Center. We are excited to be here because you know what? Even in this pandemic, we are thankful to be residents of Martin County. So much of what we have done throughout this, whatever you want to call it, we couldn't have done it without all of you. With the CARES program, we have made sure no family that we serve is hungry. Through the funding, through Early Learning Coalition, these kids have been able to come to school every day without their parents having to worry about their parent fees. So we are truly, truly grateful because in the words of United Way, it has truly taught us all to live united. So if we haven't learned anything else from this, we've learned that we are all here to help each other. So this morning, our VPK class, these are our kids that will be kindergartners next year, and hopefully it'll be in brick and mortar. But right now, we're happy to have them in our building. On yesterday, we had the Polar Express. They all had on their new pajamas and enjoyed hot chocolate and cookies because this time of year, we're usually at ICE in Orlando. So we had to be a little creative this year. Today, they'll be doing their pictures with Santa. Usually, we have a Santa, but this year we have a statue because we don't want to have Santa all masked up. On tomorrow, we'll have a Christmas concert in our parking lot. On Thursday, we'll be doing our free community dinner. We invite the commissioners to come and serve. At the Thanksgiving one, all of the city commissioners were there, the Rotary Club. We served over 3,500 plates, again with the help of Martin Cares. So on Friday, we'll be celebrating our final day. So even in this, They've had a lot to be thankful for. So thank you and enjoy. Boys and girls, are you ready?
Yes!
Can we start by saying good morning?
Good morning!
Okay, we're going to do Jingle Bells first. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle all the way. All the fire is around, like there's something to say. Hey! Jingle bells, jingle all the way. All the fire is around, like there's something to say. Hey! Jingle bells.
All right. So guess what? Gee whiz, it's Christmas. You all ready, boys and girls?
Yeah!
Let's sing loud. Ready?
Hello there. Merry Christmas, how you been? It's so good to talk to you again. It's been a long, long time. It's been what crossed my mind. I guess it's just to say a Merry Christmas. My best friend's having a party and everybody's going. I know it's gonna be a lot of fun, but by the way, it's snowing. It's been a long, long time, and it's played while it crossed my mind. I guess it's just to say, gee whiz, it's Christmas. It's funny that I am shocked this holiday before. And why is it I haven't seen you around anymore? Another year has passed and I can't erase the memory of your smiling face. So I had to call you up and say, gee whiz, it's Christmas. So let's go having a party and everybody's going. The warm fire from the fireplace will be glowing. It's been a long, long time. I still can't figure out running across my mind. I guess it's just to say, gee whiz, it's Christmas. I'm wishing you a Merry
All right, boys and girls, are we ready to wish them a Merry Christmas?
Yeah!
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Loud.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
What do you say?
Merry Christmas.
Thank you and enjoy the rest of your day. Knock him over.
Okay.
Where can't he go? Oh, he's back there.
He's out there with them. Okay. That was wonderful. Thank you. We wish you all a Merry Christmas as well. So now on our agenda today, we have an additional item, departmental number 3, and we have no consent pulls. Motion to approve the agenda?
Madam Chair, move approval.
We have a motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Jenkins. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
Really? Okay. So we'll start the day off with a 4-1 with Commissioner Campy dissenting. And moving on, we have a couple special presentations and a preset this morning. We have a 9:30 a.m. Presentation by the Alzheimer's Community Care Organization, presented by Mary Barnes.
No, not yet. No, we got to do public comment first.
Oh, we're doing public comment. Okay.
Commissioner.
We have quite a few public comments, okay. Thank you. All right, we have quite a few public comments this morning. So we will start with Anna McGovern.
Sorry, thank you. Good morning. My name is Anna McGovern, a pre-med student at Vanderbilt University. I grew up in Sewell's Point and attended the Pine School, where I built an organic garden that provides fresh produce for our lunches, but also education. I plan to become an MD and practice functional medicine, which strives to address the root of a patient's illness. I'm only beginning my journey understanding health. However, I'm troubled by soda's disproportionate impact on our nation's health. I'm here to propose one intentional policy we can implement to alleviate the burden on our healthcare system. A per ounce excise tax on sugar-sweetened beverages that raises the purchase price by 20%. Sugar-sweetened beverages, SSBs, defined as liquid sweetened with added sugars such as soda, fruit drinks, and energy drinks, cause chronic diseases that contribute to our rising healthcare costs. Consumption of these beverages is linked to cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, obesity, hypertension, and tooth decay. When we emerge on the other side of this pandemic, our healthcare system will be more strained than ever. Our poor diets weaken our immune systems and make us susceptible to viruses like COVID-19. This excise tax is our defense. A tiered soda tax, which taxes beverages based on the amount of sugar that they contain, will incentivize companies to reformulate their products to contain less sugar. SSB taxation as a public health strategy has its origins in the prior success of taxation for tobacco control. By 2030, it is estimated that half of all American adults will be classified as obese. An SSB tax is a meaningful strategy to reduce obesity and diet-related morbidity and mortality while promoting health and investing in communities most affected by these diseases. Within Martin County, the highest deaths due to diet-related diseases exist in low-income communities such as Banner Lake, Rio, and Golden Gate. This excise tax will lead to greater equality because the health and social benefits are progressive. Sugar-sweetened beverages generate negative externalities in the form of healthcare costs for the government and ultimately taxpayers. This excise tax aims to generate healthcare cost savings and reduce chronic diseases. There are currently 40 countries and 8 U.S. jurisdictions that levy excise taxes on SSBs. Just 3 years after Berkeley, California implemented an SSB, consumption in low-income communities dropped by 52%. Martin County, Florida can and should be next. I'm proposing a ballot referendum that creates a per-ounce excise tax on sugar-sweetened beverages whose revenue is earmarked for food security programs and preventative health education. Excise taxes follow the polluter pays principle by shifting responsibilities onto industries and forcing them to become a part of the solution. Industries are already influencing consumers in ways that are detrimental to their health. If it is ethical to use alternative strategies to sell unhealthy products, then it is certainly ethical to use alternative strategies to sell fewer. The question is whether industry driven by profit motive or the government devoted to the well-being of its citizens should be allowed to influence consumer choice. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Amy Pritchette.
Good morning, everyone. I'm here because of one of the agenda items about Horseshoe Point lowering the speed limit from 35 to 30 miles an hour. I live on Horseshoe Point Road, and I did the diligence of going around all of the neighboring side streets that are all posted at 25 miles an hour. To come into Horseshoe Point Road, you need to either go Manatee Cove Road or Anchor. They are both 25 miles an hour presently. It makes no sense to me to drive 25 miles an hour on those roads only to be invited to accelerate to currently 35, and your proposal says we can go down to 30 miles an hour. I don't think that's enough. I think it needs to be 25 miles an hour, and I'm asking you to reconsider that it be lowered to 25 miles an hour in keeping with all the other side streets. So you go up Horseshoe, you go to Cuban, you go to Williams, and you come back around to Robertson. It's all 35 miles an hour there. But all of the side streets are 25. All of them. There's not one that's higher than that. So it makes no sense to me to come into a residential neighborhood traveling at 25 and being invited to accelerate to 30 miles an hour. I ask you to please reconsider this to 25 miles an hour. Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is Nancy Terrell. And Nancy will be followed by Rob Steele.
Good morning. Nancy Terrell, Executive Director of the Arts Council and CEO of the Arts Foundation for Martin County. I am here with many of my colleagues in the arts and cultural sector this morning to say a simple 2 words, which is thank you. The investments through the CARES funding that Martin County has made in the arts and cultural sector has made such an amazing and huge impact, letting our organizations keep the lights on, doors open, and staff employed, so that when we reach the other side of this crisis, that these arts and cultural organizations and activities and events that everyone has come to love and appreciate as part of the fabric of this community will still be here for us on the other side. So I want to thank you for that. And with no further ado, I will pass the rest of my time to my colleagues who also have a word of thanks. Thank you again.
Thank you. And our next speaker is Rob Steele, followed by Tammy Calabria.
Good morning. I'm Rob Steele, the President and CEO of the Historical Society of Martin County, which encompasses the Elliott Museum and the House of Refuge Museum as well. I'll resoundingly repeat those 2 words, thank you. You can't imagine what this meant to us. We've all had a number of sleepless nights trying to navigate our way through the challenges we faced in 2020, and you really were the white knight riding up and helping us at the right time to keep us moving. My dear father, Herbert Charles Steele, God rest his soul, was ever the optimist, and luckily that passed on to me. When we watched the news growing up, Vietnam and race riots and oil embargoes and all the other things going on, my father always said, some good will come of it. And I've maintained that for my whole life. So what good can possibly come from COVID-19 in 2020? One thing's for certain, the group of people representing our arts and culture community here have circled our wagons, and we're closer than we've ever been. We communicate on a weekly, if not daily basis, sharing information and sharing new ways and creative ways to find our way through this current crisis. It's created some moments of introspection. We've all looked at ourselves, we've all looked at each other, and we have no secrets from each other. We share what we're doing to respond. We share the problems we're facing, and all of us are skinnied down. We may not look at it, but our staffs are smaller than they were at the beginning of the year, and we're operating as tight as we as we possibly can. Peer communications are strong, not just within Martin County, but throughout the state of Florida. We talk to other nonprofits and try and discover what their experiences have been throughout this year. One thing we've discovered is that a lot of places are doing a little bit better than we are, and some of them are doing considerably better than we are. In Martin County, we don't have adequate public funding of arts and culture. A lot of other counties we've discovered have line item support on an ongoing basis. So once we get through this year, I'd like to propose that we put together some kind of an ad hoc task force with people from the county and local financial services, local CPAs, nonprofits, and try and come up with a way forward that makes sense so that we can continue to deliver the high rate of services, that we continue to be strong destination assets for tourism and the economy nearby. There has to be a better way forward, so I'm happy to help in any way in that endeavor, and I'm sure everyone else in the room is. It makes great sense. We want to come out of all this like we're shot out of a cannon, not like we're crawling out of the desert.
Time's up, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Our next speaker is Tammy Calabria, and followed by Abigail Flood.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tammy Calabria, Executive Director of the Children's Museum of the Treasure Coast. I love speaking after Rob because he just says it all. So I mirror and echo everything that he just said. I am thrilled that the Children's Museum of the Treasure Coast is not part of the 18% of children's museums that have shuttered their doors permanently. And as you're seeing on the news, other larger children's museums throughout the country are shuttering their doors again for the second time. We meet with that group weekly, and it's heartbreaking to those communities that the children's museums are closing. And thankfully, because of your support and investment in our community and the Children's Museum and other organizations, we are not one of those, and we hope we will not have to shutter our doors again. I do have one other thing. You may be seeing a very basic landscape proposal come before you. The Children's Museum has been hit pretty hard, both with COVID deaths of our donors and some of the young people in our community. We have a bald spot outside of our fence line, but it still is a cut-in within our lease line, so I'm going to be submitting a basic landscape design to honor some of the young people in our community that have passed away. I'm not sure if anyone, I know everyone's familiar with the stories of Harper, who was killed in her home by her neighbor. Nicole Rupp was also a visitor of the museum, and most recently, which I hope I'm not emotional, my son's best friend and employee of the Children's Museum of 4 years, Noah Stenankis, just passed away last week. So we would like to do a tree and some pebbles and some surrounding etched hearts in their honor and name. So I hope you'll support that if it comes before you. Thank you again for everything.
Thank you, Tammy. And our next speaker is Abigail Flood. Abigail will be followed by Dennis O'Donovan.
Good morning. My name is Abigail Flood, Development Director at Florida Oceanographic Society. I wanted to come before you today to thank you for extending the Martin County CARES funding to nonprofit organizations in our community. Florida Oceanographic applied for and was awarded much-needed funding to support our general operations. Like many others in this community, our organization was directly impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. We were forced to close to the public for 12 weeks and are still experiencing reduced visitation. We made adjustments to our operations to facilitate social distancing and adhere to CDC and local guidelines, as well as modifying the days and times we are open to the public. We reopened in June, and since that time have seen visitation to the Coastal Center decrease by 40 to 60%. For us, this has manifested in a loss of income from memberships and admissions, as well as a drop in field trips and group programming. The funding that we receive from Martin County has been critical support for our general operations, including caring for our animals, keeping our staff employed, and continuing our habitat restoration work. The CARES Act funding enables us to continue our work in and for the community. We're conducting critical research and restoration of local habitats, advocating for clean waterways, and inspiring visitors and residents to care for our environment. We are proud of our role in Martin County and want to continue for many generations to come. As we fulfill our mission, we are protecting our collective local environment and driving tourism and economic benefits to the community. Although we receive support from private foundations and philanthropic families, it is obvious in these trying times that additional support is needed. Thank you again for extending this funding to the nonprofit organizations in our community. It has truly made a difference for Florida Oceanographic. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Dennis O'Donovan, followed by Dennis McGady.
Good morning. My name is Dennis O'Donovan. I am the President and Executive Director of the ACT Studio Theater in Cedar Point Plaza. I want to thank you all very much for the support you gave us with the CARES grant, and also the Women Supporting the Art gave us a grant. We are on life support. We've been in existence since 2014. Our last performance we did was back in March, and we've been shuttered ever since. We are attempting to get back on our feet with some virtual theater, and we've posted a number of shows and cabaret shows on YouTube. This is a very unique place in Martin County. We are a magnet for the arts. We are a destination. We have the potential to become a statewide, nationally renowned destination for the arts. And it's only because of the support we've been receiving, and we hope that there will be much more formal support. We've been on a lifeline ever since March. A lot of our patrons have donated money to keep us going, and the grant really extended our lifeline by allowing us to continue paying rent and stay on good terms with our landlord. We feel privileged to be servicing the community. We're a very small theater. We only have 37 seats, so we won't be opening anytime soon because it's not safe to be there. So we look forward to that changing with the advent of the vaccine in the community. Once again, we could not be more grateful for the support that we've received in the form of grants and the support of our patrons, and we hope to continue delivering quality theater to the community for many, many years to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Dennis McGady, followed by Kia Fontaine.
Good morning. You're one of the few people who has said my name correctly for the first time, but thank you. My name is Dennis McGady, and I am the president of the Barn Theater. I have a statement I'd like to read for you. Martin County is noted for its vibrant arts culture, and the Barn Theater is one of its founding members. The Barn Theater is the largest community theater on the Treasure Coast and has been providing great entertainment to the Treasure Coast and beyond for 50 years. Our importance to the community is evidenced by our prosperity for our 50-year history. The mission of the Barn Theater is to provide a place of new discoveries and lifelong learning that can begin a new hobby, new relationship, or new path in life. It is an especially important component of the social lives of many of our senior citizens who are major supporters of our mission. The arrival of the pandemic in March forced the closure of the theater for more than 6 months, resulting in no income during that period while we still had to maintain all of our expenses. We had gone from planning a gala event to celebrate our 50th anniversary to forecasting when we may have to shut down the theater indefinitely. The County Commissioner's approval of our grant application and the arrival of the check was a blessing for the Barn Theater, as we are now able to keep the doors open and the lights on. We are diligent about our COVID protocol, and we are able to continue providing entertainment to our faithful patrons, albeit at reduced capacity. We are extremely thankful to the County Commissioners for the provision and approval of this grant for the Barn Theater. Our staff, our cast, our patrons offer you a great big thank you. Thank you from the Barn Theater.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Kia Fontaine, followed by Marcia Powers.
Good morning. I'm Kai Fontaine, President CEO of the Lyric Theater, and on behalf of our Board of Directors, we wish to express our sincerest gratitude for your allocation of the CARES Act funding for cultural and arts organizations. This funding made an enormous impact in all of our success, not just for all of our organizations standing before you today, but for the future of arts and culture in Martin County, and was truly a lifeline to help us see through to the other side of this pandemic. Each of us lucky enough to experience arts and culture understand the power of its connection. People need shared communal experiences. People need entertainment. There is a special kind of magic that lives in creating shared moments. We are a strong community. We are a resilient community. And with your investment in our organizations, we will be able to continue our missions to build our community again through arts and culture. This funding was so needed as we remain closed and stand steadfast in our dedication to ensure the health and safety of our community. And we are truly overwhelmed by your support and care. Wholeheartedly, on behalf of the Lyric Theater, thank you.
Thank you. And our next speaker is Marcia Powers, followed by Cheryl Schwalker. Get that right?
Hi, good morning. Marcia Powers with the Early Learning Coalition, and I have with me Bill West, one of our board members and chair of our finance committee, and we have one of our newest board members here, Missy Campbell. So we're just here to say thank you so much for the CARES dollars that were allocated to child care providers in Martin County. And we worked closely with your staff in developing a grant application process for those providers, and they are so thankful. We were able to help 36 small business owners in Martin County, one of them being Gertrude Walden, that performed here today. The additional expenses incurred due to COVID seemed insurmountable, but because of your support, our 0 child care providers in Martin County have closed. And in fact, they remained open throughout the pandemic. And as we move our community to recovery, they are even more essential as, everyone goes back to work. So we are so thankful, they are thankful for all the support.
So thank you again, Commissioners. It's hard to follow everybody else with what they've said today, but we are grateful for you, grateful for your support of these children, of their families, and of the businesses. So the daycare business, to be able to support these early learning centers, and then to turn around and them to in turn support other businesses in our community. Very essential, and thank you all. Thank you for all you've done this year and your staff. It's been absolutely incredible to work with everyone here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Cheryl Schwalker. Did I get that right? Schwalker.
No, ma'am.
No.
Are followed by Frank Mcrist.
For everybody.
Leave them right there. No, ma'am, no, excuse me.
Thank you.
Oh,
What we got?
I don't want to get it for assault with a deadly weapon. These are my bike rides.
Are you
daily.
starting?
Yes.
I'm saying, these are my bike rides daily. Where are your biohazard containers? If those are so dangerous, I'd be sick as a dog right now, because you know what? I picked every one of them up without gloves on, without anything on. I see a couple that I've seen on Facebook living it up at your parties without a mask. So why do you have them on today? They're fashionable? No, they're not fashionable. Within 6 to 8 months, I will predict every one of you that keeps wanting to force this mask bullshit will end up with a really bad lung disease. You're sucking in all your bad air, and you want us to suck it in. I won't. You won't mask me. And also, I'd like to know what you're doing Golden Gate. You put drains in, you dug them up, you put them back in, now you've came and you've torn up everybody's ditches, and you've turned Golden Gate into a swamp. You cannot ride a bike. I go on my bike ride every day. Used to be nice, ditches were pretty. Now you got nothing but stagnant water with rats, mosquitoes. Your beautiful masks that are so dangerous. There's not a biohazard thing anywhere for them, but let's keep them on, because you know where they end up? In the ditch. And you know where they should end up? I won't say it, but they should end up where your sun don't shine.
Okay, our next speaker is Frank Mcrist, followed by Aaron Larica.
Congrats, Doug. Thanks, Frank. Don't start yet.
Thank you.
Hey, folks, what a great country. These are exciting times. I have a voting machine story for you. In 2004, I ran for county commissioner. On election night, I was at my campaign manager's house hanging out with the who's who of greenies in Martin County. At the kitchen table, I met 5 or 6 older guys in suits. I mean, these were some serious suits. They were all busy on their laptops, but took time to thank me for my efforts in the greenie cause. One of the suits said, "We'll know what happens in the first 5 minutes." 5 minutes into the counting, they all thanked me again and said, "Hey, it's not happening tonight." So the party starts and I mingle with the crowd. About an hour later, I hear a primal scream coming from the kitchen. I head to the kitchen thinking, hell, I'm 0 for 3 in CPR, but maybe I'll be 1 for 4. I asked my campaign manager, the source of the scream, "What's up?" She says, "Look, I don't care if you're Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, or Pluto. If you're with us," meaning the greenies, "you win these 3 precincts with 80% of the vote every time." Now, this lady had decades of experience at this. It was, I think, 2 precincts in South County and 1 in Jensen Beach. Now, these are precincts where the greenie candidate in Martin County always wins 80% of the vote. And that year I won 18, 19, and 20% of the vote. An exact flip of the usual Martin County vote. My campaign manager looked a little pale and repeated, "They finally did it. They finally did it." This is not going to end well. Half the county still comatose, being fed mainstream pablum, and the other half seeking alternative sources of news. So I ask, who is really woke? No matter your political party, race, creed, color, we should all be truth seekers. And I'll end with some quotes. "Adversity is the first path to truth," Lord Byron. "Even if you are a minority of 1, the truth is the truth," Mahatma Gandhi. "Peace, if possible, truth at all cost," Martin Luther. And William Wallace, quoting his uncle and the priest, "I tell you a truth, liberty is the best of all things, my son. Never live under any slavish bond."
Thank you. Our next speaker is Aaron Larica, followed by Ted Astolfi.
Good morning. My name is Erin Larica, and Amy, thank you for being here and supporting the effort to make Rocky Point a safer neighborhood. Good morning to you all. Thank you for your time. I bring before the board again the request to make all of Rocky Point a 25-mile-an-hour roadway. I've had the pleasure with meeting with Lisa Wexler and Luke Lambert, and they inform me that their decisions are primarily based on the classification that Horseshoe Point Road is a collector road. By definition, a collector road is a road designed primarily as a connection between local and arterial roads and are typically 64 to 40 feet wide with a moderate traffic. Upon their investigation, they feel only Horseshoe Point Road is worthy of a downgrade to 30 miles an hour, leaving the rest of Rocky Point to fluctuate between 25 and 35. However, Rocky Point's roads at its widest is 21 feet and at its narrowest 19 feet with a walk path set merely 6 feet from the road. In contrast, Sewell's Point is 35, however, their roads are 24 feet wide with a walk path setback 11 feet and property lines set further back than ours in Rocky Point. St. Lucie Boulevard is 25. They have 22 feet wide roads and 11-foot walkway. Cove Road, again, 35, however, they have 11-foot setback walkway. All of these roads I would consider to be collector roads leading to another junction or a town. Rocky Point is a tucked-away peninsula with an increasingly young population. We access nothing except another road, or another home, I'm sorry. We have no arterial roads unless you consider Manatee Cove and Anchor, which are both 25 miles an hour. I was told the guidelines for the speed limit is determined largely based on traffic. However, I don't think the city is considering pedestrian traffic. The elderly out for an evening stroll, the joggers and other exercise enthusiasts, new moms pushing strollers, fathers teaching their children to ride bikes, dog walkers, nature observers, and so forth. Many of us work from home and have no need to access our vehicles. I don't feel that the city can make a fair assessment without considering the lifestyle within the neighborhood. Rocky Point is a small neighborhood, it's a friendly community, and when you are outside enjoying your activities, anything over 25 miles an hour on a setback 6 feet from the road feels too fast and unsafe. Many of us agree, Commissioner Hurd, I know you agree with the 25 mile an hour. Many of us are requesting, and no one is contesting, except one person who is not a resident. Again, I am asking the board.
Ma'am, your time's up. Your time's up, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ted Astolfi, followed by Johnny Coulson.
This one. Good morning. 3 minutes, Taryn, not 2. Good morning. I'm Ted Astolfi. I'm the CEO of the Economic Council of Martin County. I usually like to come and speak during the board item, but I'm not going to be able to today. So I just wanted to reiterate what I said last week about the Newfield project. You've got 3 quasi-judicial hearings today: the approval of a development agreement, the approval of a master plan, the approval of preserve area management plans, and a petition to establish the community development district. As I've said before, the Economic Council doesn't support specific projects, but we do support this type of land development. I think someone said last year, maybe in Commissioner Smith last week, that this can really be a prototype of how communities should be and will be planned in the future across the state of Florida. And we agree with that, and we encourage you to continue to move this forward and pass these 4 items on the quasi-judicial today. And I want to specifically thank you for the opportunity to stand here and provide public comment on this project, and I look forward to continuing to do that through the years as this progresses. Thank you.
Thank you. Our last speaker form I have is Johnny Coulson.
Give you a break from all this bullshit tyranny that's running rampant all over our country, including right here in Martin County. I'd like to say whoever is in charge of our maintenance department, train their guys how to patch roads. Right here on our curve on East Ocean going to Source Point, they've just repatched it for about the 3rd time in 4 years, and it's even worse. So whoever is in charge of that department, please contact them, have them get some training, and have them come out and repair these. It's all over the county, all over the town here, I know for a fact. But please have somebody do something about it before it causes a severe wreck. This is really bad on East Ocean here. I've watched 2 cars in the last week run over into oncoming traffic lane because they're not paying attention. It catches their wheels and shoots them right across. Something needs to be done. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Merker, do we have any public comment on Zoom?
We do not, Madam Chair.
Okay. With that completes public comment, and we will move to our preset item. Commissioner comments, thank you. I'm really trying to alleviate the commenting today, aren't I?
I know, we're trying to get on track.
Commissioner Jenkins.
All of us in District 3 are happy and thankful and wish the rest of the county a Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Commissioner Smith?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The same for District 1. We had a fabulous Taste of Jensen last week. Really appreciate everybody's effort in making that all come together, and I talked this morning at the Jensen Chamber about it a little bit, and it's a really fun time of the year. It's a great thing to see people turn out and come out and enjoy a nice cold night and have some food. So really enjoyed it. To Johnny's comment about East Ocean Boulevard, that is the FDOT's right away, and they do the maintenance on that. I've called, of those 4 times you mentioned, probably 3 of those 4 times to get them to fix the rut. It's out in front of Carson's, right there as you head east on East Ocean. So you're absolutely right. The fix that they did last week or the last 7 days is awful. I don't know why. I'm guessing there's clearly something going on underneath the road that's much more substantial to have to fix than just going and laying asphalt on top. So I'll get with our engineering folks again today and see if we can't communicate with FDOT to see if they can't do something a little bit more substantial to that. I 100% agree. I too drive around it, and that's not a good thing to do, because the person next to you or the oncoming traffic, if they're not aware, and most people are, but if you're new to the area, everybody sort of watches it, and you can watch everybody's pattern as they move around it, but it's 100% right. It's not good, so we'll get on that. Appreciate the comment this morning on that. And Frank, are you still in the back? So Frank, do you make like really short little clubs, you know, like little girl clubs? Thank you. As soon as she's long enough or tall enough to swing a club, we'll get her out there and learn how to play golf, all right? And anyway, Merry Christmas, everybody, and have a very safe holiday season.
Thank you. Commissioner Campy?
Yes, I was just thinking when we heard from all of our, or at least a good portion of our, not-for-profits that are involved in the arts world, with only 10 days before Christmas, I know plenty of people are still looking for gifts for people that are hard to buy for. And I think in the last couple of years, you've been hearing a lot more about, instead of giving people possessions, you can give them experiences. And with that in mind, even if the organization that you're interested in happens to be temporarily on hiatus or closed, or they're doing more unique things like social media performances, I think a great gift idea would be memberships or gift certificates, even if it's for events that might be into 2021, hopefully early 2021. But with that in mind, you can give a gift to a loved one, but also support local organizations. That money that they could have in their bank accounts now would be very helpful. And by the time you can utilize the gift certificate, hopefully they'll be back on financial track, because our CARES money, although it was a very well organized program, and I thank George Stokas from our county staff who really spearheaded that and did all of the heavy lifting with his team. That's not going to be enough. I want to be careful and clear that the people that heard this morning that are watching or listening don't think that we gave them all enough money to get them through this scenario. For many of them, it's just it's a lifeline, but it's not the complete answer. So think about a membership or a gift certificate. And with that, I wish everybody a healthy and safe holidays. Thank you. One more thing, I apologize. My condolences to the Stanakis family. I, like Tammy, knew Noah Stanakis. He was a 19-year-old from Palm City, Martin County High School graduate, excellent baseball player, died in a car accident this last week, and my condolences to his family.
Hey, Commissioner Hearn.
Yes, I have a wonderful opportunity in District 4. A private landowner has offered a spectacular parcel of land for sale to Martin County. It's adjacent to Maggie's Hammock Park. It is just over 5 acres. It's a very, very rare habitat. It's called tropical maritime hardwood hammock. One of the reasons that's extremely rare is because it's maritime, which means it's coastal, which means that in Florida, it's been developed. So there's very, very little of this that remains, certainly not nearly enough in conservation. It also is tropical. Martin County is the northernmost reach of this rare habitat. You won't be able to find any in St. Lucie County or in Indian River County. It doesn't exist north of Martin County. It's in beautiful shape. It has one wetland that provides critical drainage. In short, it's a wonderful opportunity, and I intend to use District 4 funds in order to purchase this property so that Martin County residents will have this wonderful piece of conservation land in perpetuity. It's always a good idea to buy isolated conservation lands, but if you can aggregate them, it makes it that much more great, that much more powerful. It's going to be a wonderful protector and a wonderful corridor for rare and endangered, threatened animal species in Martin County.
Thank you. And I was this past weekend, the Downtown Memorial Park put on something very new, a new tradition as 2020. They had about 38 trees, Christmas trees, that were decorated. The kickoff was Saturday, and that will run through December 28th. So it really is a spectacular showing. So I invite you all to come downtown to Memorial Park and stroll through and see the trees. And with that, I wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holiday season. And now, we're going to take your comments.
I don't have. We're good.
Sarah Woods. Now, without further ado, we're going to move on to our preset presentation from the Alzheimer's Community Care. Mary, I've been dying to get to you all morning.
I want to talk about the magic that was in the room earlier before with the music. And Commissioner Smith, you've got magic in your house. And there's nothing like a little baby and the kids. But this is Alzheimer's Community Care. What am I supposed to do here? You can just click or you can hit enter. We click what? I am not. Okay, right here? Yep. Okay, thank you. I apologize. I am not very techy here. History, rich history with Alzheimer's Community Care in Martin County. We've been here since 1997, and we are an essential service provider, so we do not shut down. We have been alive and well and providing services throughout this pandemic, which has been a challenge on so many levels. We don't have enough time to talk about that. We have a daycare in North Stewart, and we have partnerships with churches. And one of our board members, Dave Dangerfield, who's here, he's from the clergy community, and we could not do what we do if we did not have our partnerships. And therapeutic exercises we do every day, COVID-19 standards, and I want I'm taking a gamble here because it's only 2 minutes, but I really would love to show you this video. And how do I do that, Tim? Just keep enter? Click.
Alzheimer's Community Care serves families coping with Alzheimer's disease and related disorders in Martin, Palm Beach, and St. Lucie counties. Supporting the pillar of safety and security, we provide services ranging from family nurse consultants to ID locator services to our specialized day service centers. Welcome to our North Stewart Center. Each day starts with a warm welcome and is full of a variety of therapeutic activities and catered meals. There is no such thing as an empty day. Every patient has an individualized care plan that meets their specific needs. At the heart of the day center is our staff. The program manager oversees the day-to-day operations and becomes a trusted friend to the families we serve. The activity coordinator and rest of the team keep every patient engaged physically, cognitively, and socially throughout their day. From games to art therapy to spontaneous dance parties, days are full and fun. This is the only medicine proven to slow the progression of Alzheimer's disease. Nurses on duty at all centers administer medications and keep a close watch on the health and well-being of every patient. When the pandemic struck, our core strategies for sanitizing, patient care, safety, and security allowed us to remain open and easily adjust to the new CDC guidelines while helping maintain the health and well-being of our families. Even in the most challenging of situations, Alzheimer's Community Care prevails in providing a full day of therapeutic activities and engagement for all of our precious patients. To learn more about our services, call us at 561-683-2700.
To move this along, with all the setters too, we have installed, and also thank you very much for the CARES money as well, because we've been able to put in safety and the equipment that we have, and also we've put in with the church's consent a ultra photo mist type of going through our air conditioning systems. So that's done all the time, so the viruses and the bacteria and whatever is out there in that room is done constantly and cleaned constantly. Our patients don't wear masks well. One of the things we don't want them to do is go for their face and dealing with their mouths and everything, so we go along with whatever the patient is able to do, so I just to have that. We have our staff that wears and constantly doing sanitizing and also wearing the mask also. Our family nurse consultants are our navigators. They're the ones that have been in total contact with families. We've done 4 big waves of reaching out to our families, over 1,000 and maybe almost 1,500 for all those 4 times. And one of them was because when the COVID first started in March, we wanted to make sure that there was no loneliness or no isolation from resources. May was a strategy on finding out, because they have questions they ask every time, and finding out how families' mental fitness is doing, if there's any other types of crisis going on in the family. Then, and after we had that threat with the hurricanes, we wanted to make sure that is there anything in the plan that they were planning to do. And right now, we're going into another whole wave because of the vaccination. We want to make sure that everybody's understanding what the vaccinations are and what they're going to mean to them, and see how they're ready to be inoculated when it becomes available in Martin County. And they are our most vulnerable and fragile population, so we want to make sure that they're got every opportunity to take advantage of this safety net. Education and training, we do a lot with health professionals, we do a lot with law enforcement, with our families as well. And our students class, we have wonderful relationships with Kaiser, Palm Beach Atlantic, and also IRC with their nursing program, and giving them exposure to knowing they don't only have to deal with the hospitals. Of course, right now we can't do it with the students, but we do with a lot of information for their training. We also have the ID locator, which is huge with law enforcement. We have a brand new technology that's going to be coming out in another month, and it's going to be amazing on how we're going to be able to keep better track of even patients before they even leave their home, having a connection with the iPhone, and if the patient leaves a certain perimeter, that it's going to go directly to the caregiver as well. So we're very excited about it. It's going to, I think, lessen exposure for people even leaving the area, and also being able to connect again with law enforcement. So we're very excited about that. Case managers, we are constantly looking and having scholarships and making sure that our families have access to all the services that are going to make sure that they're going to be safe and in the community, because our whole mantra is that we have preserved their dignity and integrity throughout the disease process. And by the way, the average time our patients stay in daycare is almost 3 years. So we have patients in there that's been with us 16 years in different daycares. We work well with the Medicaid managed cares, the HMOs, the Veterans Administration, and Martin County, and their job as case managers is to make it work for them, our families, to get those resources. Crisis line, we have 24/7 crisis lines, so we're always in touch with the community and always able to answer the needs, especially when there's emergency. And I can't tell you how many go on weekends and after 5 o'clock at night, so we're available. We were part of the responsibility, we wrote the legislation for the Florida Silver Alert, so we look at the Silver Alert as a big pride for safety and the safety net, and we also did the legislation for the specialized Alzheimer's daycare license, which raises the bar of the care, and we're answerable to certain standards that are written into state statute, and we meet them when we have our annual and review and that from ACA. So we're all in this together. And so we couldn't work unless we did, and that's why we have such a big effect on the family and the stabilization of their, and also in our Alzheimer's care. And we are a family-centered organization. We believe in early diagnosis. We believe As an advocate organization, we believe that cognition should be the sixth vital sign. And that's what we have to start really advocating. Unfortunately, in the medical community, we have no principles. It isn't like when you go and get diabetes and you have some sort of cancer, you already have a whole list of protocols you follow. That's not the same in Alzheimer's, and also the centers remain open during the pandemic, and we've got all the social distancing and all the other areas intact, and that's it. Any questions? Again, thank you very much for giving us this opportunity to educate everyone on our presence and our impact. And again, we couldn't do it without, we are not a government agency, and we're able to provide and do innovative things that we're able to do. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mary. Commissioner Campy?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Barnes, thank you so much. You know, you and I are very familiar with each other, and I'm very familiar with your organization. Two quick questions. One, you know, you're speaking of Alzheimer's, but does the program also apply to dementia, early onset dementia, folks that might not be specifically Alzheimer's but have some of those same cognitive issues?
Yes, yes, we do a lot with, as a matter of fact, one of the areas that we feel we're going to be the biggest service for early onset or early stages is really the ID locator, because getting the family to go from being out of denial and getting into the resources, the sooner we can do that, the better off everyone is. And that ability to answer those complicated questions. Alzheimer's disease is also complicated with, frontal temporal lobe, also vascular dementia. It isn't just Alzheimer's, and that's where our challenges are, is to help families understand what is the pathology that's going on in that family. So it helps an awful lot. And we bring children in, and we bring everybody in to make that person and make that family not feel alone, isolated, and overwhelmed.
Thank you. For families that don't have not been stricken with this issue, can you give us some statistics on how many Americans are afflicted?
Well, fortunately, Florida has at least 10% of the national statistics. So we do have, and especially in South Florida, we do have a large number of families. And in Martin County, I would say easily you have almost 10,000 to 11,000. That's just Alzheimer's. That doesn't talk about vascular dementia. That doesn't talk about frontal temporal lobe. That doesn't talk about Lewy bodies. So you got to do another 30% on that. So yes, we are overwhelmed with, especially with the elopements, because the elopements, if we're working with law enforcement, that's why the transmitters are so valuable, because of the isolation, because of the confinement, because everybody's so afraid of the COVID-19 and all the risks that has with that. And yes, masks are important. Yes, you don't have to be social, physical distancing is important, but not social distancing. So that's why the family nurse consultants are there on a constant basis, interacting with the families all the time.
Thank you. My final question is, if families are even starting to think, like you said, there is a denial phase in the beginning, families that are starting to think about it, how can they reach out to you, even if they just have questions?
Well, they can call, right now I haven't got I always do that, the number of our office, but we can go to our website, www.alzcare.org, alzcare.org, and also our 683-270-0561, but we do have a local number, so I don't have that off the top of my head. I apologize.
Thank you very much. I appreciate everything you and your team are doing here. We're
Thank
fortunate to have you.
Thank you. Commissioner Smith?
Mary, thank you for coming, and
Thank
thank
you
you
for
for
asking.
doing all that you do for us. So what's next? What's on the horizon, if there is something on the horizon? What should we, as a community, be thinking about? And I know you span from St. Lucie to Palm Beach, but what should Martin be thinking about for the future in terms of where do we go next? Is there a next?
Well,
And part of that also, should we be engaging with Cleveland Clinic with their national programs to see where they are in this partnership realm in terms of, is there something in the next world that we should be looking at?
We would love to work closer with Cleveland Clinic and all the medical community because, again, as I talked about, the medical principles, that is really where the heart of all these spin-offs when it comes to helping our families, because we're not going to have a cure. We're not going to see a cure. I know there's going to be a cure of some sort, but there's not, just like cancer, there's going to be a combination of other types of, vascular and dementia. And dementia is only a symptom, it's not the disease. So our next big thing is really expanding on the education and working closer with the Cleveland Clinic, but also with the academia, because there should be a degree in some sort for Alzheimer's and some sort of a semester in Alzheimer's. So that's another thing we're working on. Martin County, this year is 5 or 6 more centers, to be honest with you. We should be out in Indiantown. We should be down in Hope Sound. We should be down another in within Stewart and within the whole community. So, we've got a lot of work to do. And so one of the things is building a building in Martin County. That's my objective, is to have a building here and of a bigger size. And I also, within that building, I would love to develop a early stage. That's a different type of kind of therapeutic care. And that's really on the horizon for us.
So in the state of Florida, or even in the Southeast, is there any center of excellence, if you will? I don't know a better word to call it. Is there some place affiliated with the university or that is like the place to go, other than what you have created all your years of doing this? Or in the country, is there some place that people recognize as being, yeah, you got to go to Omaha, Nebraska, for instance?
Well, I would like to think that our organization, as a dementia-specific service provider, we are credited by the Joint Commission. We have that beautiful gold insignia. They don't know what to do with us. We've had 3 times, 6 years, we've been going through reaccreditation. They do not know what to do, and they cannot define a dementia-specific service provider. Does every community deserve one? Absolutely. And we are the hospice that was done in the 20th century. We are the hospice of the 21st century. And that's really what's got to take root and take hold.
So I guess the reason why I sort of asked that question, Mary, what I envision at some point is that your organization with the region, with the state, with a university, with a hospital, with a something, that there should be a center of excellence somewhere that is recognizable at all the levels that span with Alzheimer's, dementia, all the pieces of it. And I know we've talked about bricks and mortar and that kind of stuff over the years. I think we should start a bigger conversation about that. I suspect if our population base is at 10% now, and that's the tip of the iceberg, I don't see us changing in that direction as the baby boomer generation starts to age out. I think our numbers will increase. And one of the reasons I asked to have you come back was to sort of start this conversation to say, what's next, Mary? Where should we be focusing? And what do you need help in focusing or helping us focus that attention, both at the state and the federal level? Does Ken still work with you?
Yes.
So Senator Pruitt works with Alzheimer's Community Care, and he's a tremendous resource and knowledge of how things happen at the state. I think as we start thinking about things we should be focusing on as a community, and whether it's wellness, whether it's Ed talks a lot about the impacts of COVID on the mental health side of things. There are things we can do here in this community.
Yes, you can.
That can certainly put us in a place, and I'm going to add a twist to this. In a lot of ways, it's economic development too, because the resources, the energy, the money that pours into whether it's research or care or everything in between is and has a tremendous amount of potential. And so I just throw it out there to say, I would love to help. I think we would love to help if there's the need and the want to say, let's challenge the state and let's challenge ourselves to say, if we were going to do something, could it be done here? And could Cleveland, does Cleveland play a role in that? Should they play a role in that? I'm sure you're familiar, but IRSC has just appointed a new president. He has all sorts of interesting ideas in terms of where he wants to see the college go. And so I suspect there's additional opportunities there for a partnership in terms of the teaching side and the educational component. So anyway, just throwing it back to see what it can push and where we can go.
Well, I would love to go into a longer conversation on that. Right now, in the wisdom of the ACA, Agency of Healthcare Administration, they went ahead and excluded Alzheimer's from the Baker Act. Now, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. However, what's going to happen when a patient has a catastrophic reaction because of a medical need that has always been thrown into the mental health system, which they shouldn't be, but they were. But there was a way of getting the family some sort of relief, but on the other hand, it wasn't the right kind. What is going to replace that when there is I already brought it up to ACA. They said they can't. We've had talks with them on a state level. Can we do something locally with sort of a potential project that might be able to be beneficial for our community in this Palm Beach, in Martin County, and being able to have a model here? I think it's possible. The Cleveland Clinic would be the one. Where is this stabilization going to happen when this kind of family situation gets out of control in a family? And it does happen. But they're not going to be able to have the Baker Act anymore. It's going to be put into the hospital. So what kind of care system are they going to have for this, for working with the family? That's just one of the other issues that I could talk about, but that's the most pressing at the moment.
Yeah, thank you, Mary, very much for everything.
Thank
Just
you.
let us know
I'll
where.
call you and see if we can come up with some sort of a...
Commissioner Hurd also has her light on.
Yeah, you several times used a term that I'm unfamiliar with, vascular
Yes.
dementia. What is that? How is that different from Alzheimer's? How is it different from dementia? What are the early signs?
Pathology is completely different from Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's is like a slow elevator. You see it going down, very slow. Vascular, it's got to deal with the cardiac, and it's got to deal with the
Mary, can you just move a little closer to your microphone,
destruction
please?
of the brain, sorry. And so it can be like one here, you're here one day, and then you're down here another time, or another minute, or another time, another hour. So it's very progressive, but it's very sudden. Frontal temporal lobe is different from Alzheimer's because it affects the front part of the brain, which gives a whole different type of behavior, delusion, hallucinations. There's other types of manifestations of the behavior, which is much different from Alzheimer's. And then you've got, frontal temporal lobe Lewy bodies, which is a crossover between Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, which is another whole type of approach. So I know everybody's heard more about Alzheimer's, and dementia is only a sign. It's a symptom. It's like you have a fever. That's all it is. I know there's a lot of interrelated identifying as a disease, but dementia is not. It's not. It just says that you can't do more than 3 adult daily living activities at one time. It's been deteriorated. And that's when the medical term gets into the mix of dementia. But it doesn't. Everybody that has Alzheimer's has dementia. Everybody that has dementia does not have Alzheimer's. That's the big difference.
Are there any early warning signs for vascular dementia?
Absolutely. It's very subtle unless you get a good diagnosis, which is what we want as a baseline for your health. All of us, like taking your pulse, taking your temperature, and all that. This 6th vital sign would have a baseline with the doctors, and that's all of a sudden you've got. We use the BIMS score, so it's 15. That's the normal, 15. All of a sudden you're 10. You go to the doctor and you have this very, very 3-minute exam, the 3-minute questionnaire, and all of a sudden you're different. You can't answer it the same. You need help. You find out what's causing that. It could be vascular. It could stop heart attacks. It could stop the brain, diminish the cycle of killing the brain. All that. That's the difference. That's the difference. And getting to have that diagnosis as early as possible is important.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mary, for
Thank you
joining
so
us
much
today. We
for
look
the
forward to hearing more.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, we are going to move on to our second preset of the morning. The Arts Council of Martin County would like to give a brief presentation on the Corning Museum of Glass, which was featured during Arts Fest 2020. Nancy?
It was. Thank you, Chairman Hetherington. I appreciate the few moments of time that we're going to take this morning. This is a much delayed thank you and recognition of your investments and support for allowing the Arts Foundation of Martin County bring through Arts Fest the Corning Museum of Glass and their 45-foot tractor trailer truck mobile hot glass shop to Stewart last February, which seems like it was way longer ago than it really is. It seems like a lifetime ago that we were able to do an event with thousands of people gathered for the celebration of the arts in our community. But in an effort that we thought that things would be getting better, I kept waiting to sort of ask for time on the agenda to make this presentation, so instead we're here anyway today to do that. And now Arts Fest is simply about 12 weeks away from Arts Fest 2021. The foundation will be presenting that with both an in-person and a virtual component this year. It is scheduled for February 20 and 21 of 2021. The part of my comments today, you hear me talking about both the Arts Council and the Arts Foundation. The Arts Council is your local arts agency. We have our offices in the Historic Courthouse Cultural Center, which is a wonderful, beautiful asset of Martin County. And we manage the galleries in there and a lot of public programming for the engagements of the arts and cultural community. The foundation is the fundraising support mechanism for the council. And so along with some other eyes to the future and strategic planning that we've done, Arts Fest and the Marty's Awards have become programs of the foundation. I know a lot of this is semantics, but it is all part of our effort. We are in a rebranding process to try to help the community understand the roles and the differences of the two organizations. The foundation will also be taking the lead on an eventual fundraising and capital campaign to convert the historic Stewart High School into an arts and cultural center, which we're very excited about. So the Arts Foundation of Martin County, our board chair, Neil Capozzi, who owns Stewart Art Supply, he has a for-profit business in the arts and cultural sector and has been our chairman for the last 2.5 years, is here to say a few words of thank you, and then we have this beautiful piece of Corning glass to present to you today.
Yes, Board, thank you again for your continued support for the arts in our community. The Arts Foundation not only puts on events in the art world, but we're also advocates for the artists in our community. We support visual artists, performing artists, with understanding what their individual businesses are and how they are to be supported. This past year, the community came together and we raised funds for artist grants that we presented to about a dozen different artists that have lost the ability to do their work, whether it's the visual artist doing an art show or a musician performing at an event. So again, we'd like to thank you for your support.
Thank you. And with that, I don't know if you want to do a photo opportunity with the glass sculpture?
You get to keep it at your home.
And it's in 2 pieces.
That's beautiful.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Where do you want it?
16 Park.
Yeah.
Get a picture while it's still in one piece.
Let's see, we'll do a couple. 1, 2, 3.
And we'll turn it to a safe place around like that. Wonderful. Thank you.
So does that go to Stacy's office, or?
It'll be in the case out front.
You notice I let Nancy keep complete control of that the entire time. Thank you, Nancy, for coming in. What a fantastic Arts Fest. Appreciate it.
And just to be forewarned, Commissioner Smith and I have already had talks about when we can bring Corning back again. So hopefully we'll all have a chance to do this again sometime. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, with that, we are approaching our 10:30 break, and to keep continuity with our agenda, we are going to take a 10-minute break. And we will be back at 10:35, and we will take public hearing quasi judicial number 1. We'll see you at 10:35. 15th Board of County Commission meeting. And we were going to proceed with public hearing quasi-judicial number 1, Newfield, formerly known as Pineland Prairie, second public hearing regarding request for approval of a development agreement. Paul Schilling.
Good morning, Commissioners. Paul Schilling, Growth Management Director. Prior to Mr. Walden presenting the 3 agenda items this morning related to the Newfield project, I would like to make some introductory remarks. The first item for the board's consideration is the second public hearing, which the chair just mentioned. As discussed in detail by Mr. Walden last week, the development agreement is required by policy 4.13.A.154C, Comprehensive Growth Management Plan, and establishes the obligation of the master developer regarding the level of service for public facilities. The development agreement does not address the development review procedures to be applied to the Newfield project. The decision regarding the review process was made in 2018 with the approval of Article 11, Land Development Regulations. The second item is the first master site plan for the Newfield project and approval of 2 preserve area management plans. The requested approvals follow the procedures and implement the requirements established in Article 11 when it was adopted in 2018. This is the first major application implementing a form-based code establishing a compact mixed-use village comprised of interconnected traditional neighborhoods, intrinsically linked to the adjacent agriculture, open space, managed natural areas, designated preserve areas consisting of wetlands and native upland habitat. There will be approximately 10 future master site plan applications for board's consideration over the years. The third item is a requested approval for the Newfield Community Development District pursuant to Chapter 190 of the Florida statutes. This application is distinguishable from recent applications in terms of the size of the proposed CDD, the approval process, and the nature of the development to be included within the CDD. The CDD is a financing mechanism authorized by state statute. I would point out that each of the agenda items which you have been provided contains a detailed analysis and staff report reflecting compliance findings. I will now turn it over to Mr. Walden, and we'll get started. Thank you.
Thank you for that summary, and this is a quasi-judicial hearing, so we will go with our ex parte disclosures. Commissioner Jenkins.
I have some, and they've been filed.
Commissioner Smith.
I do, and they've been filed.
Commissioner Campy.
I have, and they've been filed.
Commissioner Hurd.
Mine have been filed.
And if any, mine have been filed. And does the applicant have return receipts to provide?
No, they were turned in at the first hearing.
Okay. Are there any interveners?
No, but I do have the agenda item and a copy of my work history to submit for the record.
Great. And we will do the swearing in of our witnesses.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Okay. Mr. Walden, take it away for the
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. Peter Walden with the Growth Management Department. And this is a request for a development agreement between the master developer of Newfield and Martin County. The Newfield project is located west of the Florida Turnpike, adjacent to the C-23 Canal and north of Southwest Highway in Palm City. This is the second public hearing concerning the Newfield development agreement. We went through the agreement in detail last week, so I'll just reiterate some of the main points today. The development agreement is not a development order, and it does not authorize any construction on its own. It is a planning tool that will help the applicant and the county make the best use of resources by providing certainty and structure to the development process. The agreement is bound by timelines and benchmarks for construction. All projects funded by the impact fee dollars will come before the board for approval. All impact fee dollars will be allocated to provide level of service for the project and provide public facilities that will be open to all of Martin County residents. The development agreement is subject to annual review, at which time staff will update the board as to the development's adherence to the agreement and the status of development. The proposed agreement has been reviewed by development review staff and departmental staff as well as to its adherence with comprehensive plan goals and policies. Staff has found the proposed development agreement between the master developer of Newfield and the county to be in compliance with all Martin County code, and therefore recommends that the board move to receive and file the agenda item, including the staff report as Exhibit 1, and move that the board approve the development agreement for the Newfield project. That's my presentation. I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Campy.
When it's appropriate, I'd make a motion to accept staff's recommendation. Or do I have to read that little?
We have to take, like, pending public comment.
Yes.
Ms. Story.
Yes, Commissioner. So just to advise you a little bit regarding the development agreement, you have in your packet attached to the supplemental the latest draft of the development agreement, which has been negotiated between staff and the applicant's representatives. It is in its final substantive form. There may be a couple of what I would call minor Scrivener type adjustments that need to be made to confirm that the exhibits are all appropriate, and some minor tweaking of non-substantive language, which I have talked to Mr. McCarthy about. So if the board is amenable to approving the agreement that's attached to the supplemental, but would give staff the ability to make those non-substantive adjustments to make sure the agreement is appropriate and consistent throughout. We would appreciate that. Thank you.
Motion maker agrees to that.
Okay, Commissioner Smith.
And seconder now would agree to that pending, again, public comment.
Okay, great. We have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Campy and seconded by Commissioner Smith. And does the applicant have a presentation?
Good morning, Marcella Campbell for the record. The applicant does not have a presentation. We agree with staff's recommendation. We're here to answer questions if you have any. Thank you.
Commissioner Hurd?
Yes, we had detailed discussion about this last week, so I won't belabor it. I won't be supporting the agreement. I once again looked through the agreement because I was concerned that most often the agreement refers to county, and I looked, and the Board of County Commissioners is mentioned 3 times explicitly. So that's the only 3 times that the Board of County Commissioners is going to be involved in this agreement. And the rest of the time, it's going to be county, which sounds to me like it's going to be staff. So I'm not going to be supporting this agreement simply because it eliminates the authority of the Board of County Commissioners and also limits the public participation.
And I will once again reiterate that the agreement is between, as is standard for many county agreements, between Martin County, which is effectuated through its Board of County Commissioners, which is what's on the signatory line, which is what's at the beginning of the agreement. And it's my opinion that county refers to Martin County, and that there is no delegation of rights that the county would have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any public comment forms on this. So seeing no public comment, we have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Campy, seconded by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Opposed?
Motion carries 4-1 with Commissioner Hurd dissenting. Okay, thank you. Now we will move on to departmental quasi-judicial number 1, Newfield request for master site plan approval for the Crossroads neighborhood and approval of the preserved area management plans 1 and 2.
This is quasi-judicial as well.
So this is a quasi-judicial hearing, call for ex parte disclosures. Commissioner Jenkins.
I have some, and they've been filed.
Commissioner Smith.
I do, and they are filed.
Commissioner Campy.
If I have any, they've been filed.
And Commissioner Hurd.
Mine have been filed.
If any, mine have been filed. And does the applicant have any return receipts?
None required.
Are there any interveners?
No.
Okay, and swearing in of witnesses, please.
Raise your right hands, please. Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Walden will present the item.
Thank you. Once again, Peter Walden with the Growth Management Department. I'd like to start by saying that a full agenda item along with the staff report and a copy of my work history has been turned into for evidence as Exhibit 1. And this is a request for a master site plan approval for the Crossroads neighborhood, Phase 1 of the Newfield development, formerly known as Pineland Prairie. The approximate 139-acre neighborhood is located east of and adjacent to Southwest Citrus Boulevard, about 1.5 miles west of Southwest Boat Ramp Road. The Newfield is a planned community to be developed on an approximate 3,411 acres of land located west of the Florida Turnpike, north of Southwest Martin Highway, and adjacent to the C-23 canal, which acts as the border to St. Lucie County. One moment. Just a viewable stage here. Okay. The master plan shows the allocation of transect zones for the neighborhood. It also provides site plan data pertaining to the 139 acres planned and the maximum number of residential units and commercial space for the neighborhood. The Crossroads neighborhood includes 1,251 residential units, about 30% of the total allocated to the project. It also includes 211,540 square feet of commercial space, about 70% of the total for the project. The Newfield project is described in Policy 4.13A.15 of the Comprehensive Growth Management Plan. The policy creates the mixed-use village land use and the planned mixed-use village zoning district described in Article 11 of the Land Development Regulations. Let me grab that. Okay. Planning in Newfield begins with the regulating plan. The regulating plan establishes the general location and size of the neighborhoods, as well as important elements to the proposed development. Table 3.1, and there we go. Can't do this now. Okay. Table 3.1 shows that the neighborhoods of the Newfield project have a predetermined range of transect zones. We can see that the Crossroads neighborhood, of which there is only one, has the largest percentage of the T5 and T4 transects. These transects require the largest mix of uses and concentrated development consistent with a village center. As development progresses from the center, the allocation of transects becomes oriented to the T4 and T3 transects, which limit the uses and intensity of development as it moves toward the natural areas. We can follow the code in Article 11 to determine the units per acre, building placement, lot and block standards, building heights, parking allocations and locations, and allowed frontage types and encroachments. We can go further into the code to look at the permitted use table to see what uses are allowed in each transect. Then we get to the form-based code portion, and it shows how the building should be oriented and how the parking is laid out. It gives examples of architecture that fit within the transect. It provides the frontage lines and build-to zones. These determine how much of the building facade is required to occupy the area next to the right-of-way. This is important in providing a consistent streetscape. Next, the code provides design requirements for the building itself. Each floor has dimensional requirements. There is even a specific determination as to the permitted uses for each floor. Parking has specific standards for placement and setbacks. And then in Division 4, which goes into very specific detail for vertical development. And I won't go through every detail, but it provides architectural standards that ensures that whatever exact use or building types chosen for a lot, the finished product will blend harmoniously with the entire community. Also provided in the code is specific streetscape criteria. Connectivity and street design are an integral part of providing a complete traditional neighborhood environment. So getting back to the master plan, I went through the code to show that while there is some flexibility provided in the master plan, this is allowed because the form-based code is so specific. The master gives the parameters of the neighborhood that conform with the comprehensive plan and land development regulations, and it provides the keys to the form-based code that supply the very specific criteria that will ensure proper development. Staff recommends approval of the Crossroads Master Plan because the plan, the associated code, and the development agreement provide the assurance to staff and the board that the project will be consistent with all applicable regulations and required level of service. Along with the master plan, the developer is required by code to establish 2 preserve areas management plans for the open spaces outside of the primary urban service district. Provided in the agenda are PAMPs 1 and 2. PAMP 1 covers approximately 452 acres of the project, and it is designed to meet the requirements for preservation areas in the comprehensive plan. It will be maintained as natural open space with limited trails for public access. PAMP 2 covers the rest of the area outside of the PUSD, roughly 1,800 acres, and will allow very limited uses as well, but will allow lakes, stables, and facilities that will enhance the public use of the land while ensuring no development can occur. Both PAMPs are provided in the agenda. There is thorough environmental analysis provided for both. PAMP 3 is the third type of PAMP that will be brought forward at the time of final site plans, and those will include preserve areas inside the PUSD. This application has been reviewed by development review staff. And therefore staff, and is in compliance with all applicable regulations. Therefore, staff recommends that the board receive and file the agenda item along with the staff report as Exhibit 1, and move that the board approve the master site plan for the Newfield Crossroads neighborhood, Phase 1, and adopt the resolution of approval, and move that the board approve the preserve area management plans 1 and 2 for the project. Now that completes my presentation. I know that the applicant has a detailed presentation to go into the master plan as well. Glad to answer any questions.
Great. Commissioner Hurd.
Yeah, would you return to the final site plan? I'm sorry, the master.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I got to rotate that again.
Okay, let's just, for example, let's look at T5. Would you move the cursor around to all the T5 lots? And that is, there are going to be 463 units in there. The density per acre is 40.3. Can you point to any one of those and tell me what's proposed to be constructed in any of those parcels where there are going to be 463 units?
Yeah, I believe the applicant's presentation will get into specific detail and show elevations even of that, but I'll be glad to go forward a little bit.
Point to any one of them and tell me what's going to be there.
Okay, the master plan does not give a specific building type or anything for a block. It provides the parameters of the entire site plan, and the code breaks down what is and what can be built in that area. And I believe the applicant will be able to share a little more detail.
Will those details be brought to the Board of County Commissioners for final action?
Well, no, this master plan is what the board will approve, and it provides what staff feels is adequate information to understand what is taking place on this 139 acres.
Okay, so this 1,200 and some units will be developed with no additional input from the public or from Board of County Commissioners?
Well, that's why the code that has been developed is so specific, so...
It's a yes or no question.
No, the final site plans will be evaluated and approved by staff.
You want to repeat that?
The final site plans will be evaluated and approved by staff.
So no more Board of County Commissioner input until the next phase? So this entire plan will be developed and constructed with no further public input?
If there is some civic areas that are provided as projects for impact fee dollars, like the library section, there will be brought before.
Madam Chair, if I may. Paul Schilling, Growth Management Director. Commissioner, to your point, the master plan is being approved today. There will be 10 future master plans approximately. The components of this master plan will be finalized with a number of different site plans, final site plans, which will not require board action. However, they have to comply with all of the regulations within the county's comprehensive plan, the land development regulations, and Article 11. So, for example, if there was a final site plan that came in for 50 units of the 1251, let's just say, it would go through the normal process. We issue staff reports. We publish those staff reports. We have agendas published. Folks can participate in the joint workshop meetings. So it follows that process. It just does not come back to the board for final adoption. But we anticipate dozens of those. So there will be ongoing final site plans associated with it. Yes.
Why is that good public policy? Why are the elected officials who are responsible for development in Martin County being removed from final site plan consideration and approval? Why is that good public policy to eliminate public hearings?
I believe the objective with these master plans is to formalize what is going to happen on those 139 acres. And with respect to those other elements of the final site plans in the future, those are technical matters. Those are the amount of lots in the particular subdivision, the building typology, the landscaping requirements, how the street looks, the stormwater, all of the things that we review every day will be reviewed as part of this application, these future applications. So I think with respect to the process, there's always been public involved in this process. Folks can provide comments on any project within the county at any given time. I can tell you that for a fact. We deal with those comments frequently. So if someone had specific questions about, let's say, the second final site plan in here, they could call our office, call Growth Management.
How would they know? If there's no more notice given of public hearings, if there are no more public hearings, if there's no more involvement by the Board of County Commissioners, how on earth are the residents of Martin County supposed to know that some change is being contemplated, that some reviews are under, or that some plans are under review?
With all due respect, the fact of the matter is this proposal in front of us today will have 1,251 units of residential and commercial components.
Well, that's conceptual.
There are no surprises
with... Because there are provisions in Chapter 11 that provide for amendments that are also administrative.
There are assurances provided by the code as well as the comprehensive plan that dictate what happens on this site. So with all due respect, we fully understand what will eventually happen on this site. It will be 139 acres of mixed use. It will be following the form-based code. There's an expectation that it provide all of the normal requirements and meet the comprehensive plan. So there will be no surprises with this.
Yeah, there will be.
Thank
This
you.
is a negotiation between staff and the developer.
That's not-
So there will be surprises.
Thank you, Mr. Schilling. Commissioner Smith, did you have a question for Mr. Schilling?
I'm not finished yet. So that's one.
Do you have questions for Mr. Schilling?
I don't know if it's for Mr. Schilling or who it's for, but I still have the floor.
Okay, continue.
I'm looking at, I guess it's flood management requirements. The first master site plan for Crossroads neighborhood falls entirely within a stormwater basin that has an allowable discharge to the C-23 canal. The allowable discharge, what is the allowable discharge into the C-23? I was surprised to read that this is going to be discharging into the C-23 canal, which I thought we were trying to clean up.
Well, there are existing outfalls into the C-23 canal, of which I believe that we will reduce those flows, but I
Ms.
don't know
Bixer?
if the engineer of record is available.
Good morning, I'm Lisa Wixer, I'm the county engineer. There are permits issued to Shadow Lake Farms that discharge into the C-23 and have been discharging into the C-23 for years, and that's the allowable discharge. Those permits were issued by the South Florida Water Management District in the 80s. So this stays with that drainage pattern. Because it's a master plan, we don't have the final calculations and the final details for that, and that's typical with any master plan that we have in Martin County, regardless of whether it's in this particular land use or not.
Is the allowable discharge rate the same for agricultural lands as it is for urban lands?
It's based on the historic flows, yes. So it's a pre-development versus post.
Okay.
And the pre-development was pre-development for the agricultural lands. So it would have been the natural runoff.
Okay. And I also noticed in our development agreement and in the master site plan that there is no mention of school concurrency. Is that's being done separately with the school district?
The school district has issued a notice of no objection to the master plan, and they normally do concurrency at the site plan level. Final site plan level.
Those are the questions I have right now.
If no one else, we'll move on to the applicants. Oh, do you have a question for staff, Commissioner Campy?
Thank you very much. Just for clarification's sake, I appreciate and respect Commissioner Hurd's comments, but I think what we have to, maybe the difference here is that in such a large project, we have an award-winning staff that have decades of experience, professional experience, degrees in their selective fields, and we, on a regular basis, we, at least I do, tout their expertise and their professionalism. So there might, to Commissioner Hurd, there might be a level of just trust and confidence in our staff to be able to make these more finite decisions, considering that we have laid the foundation and the groundwork for the larger decisions that should be made at the board level. I am comfortable personally allowing our staff, if they're not up for the challenge, then they shouldn't be our staff, but I believe that they are. So when we get into streetscapes and buildings and what is this building versus the next door neighbor building, I feel comfortable letting staff do that. Otherwise, we would be spending quite a lot of our time, which I'm not opposed to, reviewing at a detail level that I don't believe elected officials were meant to do. Just my personal opinion.
I just have a quick question. By nature of the form-based code, it provides some certainty into what's being actually built on it. Is that correct?
Absolutely, right down to the building type, the floor level dimensions, the permitted uses. It goes much, much further than our standard code in Article 4 or Article 3. So there is certainty as to the finished product that will be out here. It intentionally provides flexibility to the applicant to let this evolve over time. This is a plan that's good for 10 years. So, you know, market decisions and things like that have to be flexible to ensure the success of the property. So that's why the code is so specific, that it allows that flexibility, but we still know what the actual form, the actual look, the actual function of the town will be.
Okay, great. Okay, seeing no other questions from staff, I'm going to invite the applicant up to make their presentation.
Can I,
Yes.
Good morning again, Marcella Camblor for the record, here representing the applicant. Just to go over a little bit of the history of this master plan, this illustrative plan was approved in September of 2018 after 17 months of public input. Everything we have done since May of 2017 has been in a public website where Mr. Kiplinger communicates with the over 1,500 people that are signed up to that website. The process reached out to over 10,000 Martin County residents. He met in person with over 1,000 of them. And this has been the master site plan that has been available to the public since, again, September of 2017. As your staff mentioned, today we're bringing in front of you the first master site plan out of 11 that you will be seeing over, I don't know, the next 20, 30 years as this project moves forward. As staff mentioned too, PAMP 1 and PAMP 2, thousands of acres of open natural space are preserved after the approval of this plan today, which is a pretty important moment for our environment. So this first master site plan, prior to being submitted to your staff, gets reviewed and approved by the Office of the Settlement Architect. This portion of your code, unlike others, has a category for the town founder and for the Office of the Settlement Architect, which is a group of professionals that look at all of the proposals in every plan and every building and every design that will be brought in front of the county, and without an approval from this group that guarantees that this meets the founder's vision, this plan doesn't come to your staff. As mentioned by staff, what you are seeing here today is a straight zoning by right master plan that is not requesting any exceptions or any deviations from your current regulations. I think it's a little deceiving that we're only looking at one sheet. The code requires, yes, that we submit a master plan that is drawn in the more conventional way that your master site plans are drawn, but it also requests 7 other categories. All of these documents have been submitted. All of these documents have been used to evaluate that master site plan that you saw, and all of these documents are mandatory every single time one of those 11 plans come. The first one is an illustrative plan, and you can see in this illustrative plan that very clearly elements start to be depicted. You can tell where the library is going to be and where the pool and community center is going to be and where fields and trailheads and open spaces are going to be. This master plan has so much detail, even though it's illustrative, that you can count every single tree. Those trees are placed to scale exactly where the code requires that they be. These files are provided at great level of detail and great level of quality. Again, it is possible to count parking spaces. It is possible to count every single street and every single lot. These are also submitted in AutoCAD form, so there is the ability to measure each one of those. The code requires that three-dimensional graphics be submitted, not just elevations without colors, something that would make a layperson understand what this looks like. They're not just pretty pictures. These are done out of AutoCAD files through SketchUp and then drawn, and everything is drawn to scale. Again, this is, I believe, the first chapter in your code that requires that these types of graphics be submitted to understand a master plan. This is a view of the town square, main square off of Newfield Avenue, and each one of those buildings can be traced back to the transect and the master plan that was submitted. Another view, and this is also part of the package, of the area that we call Pioneer Square, or potentially where the first settlement will begin, where the farm stand and the water tower and the barn and the buildings that will start to set the character will commence. Other views of Pioneer Place as you enter off of Citrus. Again, it's very visual, very clear what the scale and the character of the buildings are going to be, where parking is, where trees will be planted, the public open space, an aerial view of that Pioneer Place, a barn, a market, a restaurant, and or brewery. All of these are part of the application, and they're all mandatory, and they will all have to be submitted to as future master site plans are evaluated. And as I mentioned, it is very clear to see, for example, where the pool and community center is going to be. And I think this is a very cool location for the first one. It's placed directly across the street from a major park that will be accessible for the entire community. So not only are we doing trailheads as are mandated by the developer's agreement, but the plan is seeking to use all of these civic opportunities to expand the ability for residents throughout Martin County to use these facilities. These views, again, can be traced to exact points within that master site plan. This is a view of the neighborhood as it fronts that green that was shown. This is essentially the same map that shows the transect that was hatched. Again, the hatching is because of the way the county normally receives master site plans, but the code requires that it be graphically represented in this manner too. The information is the same one that you reviewed in the previous master plan that Mr. Walden was showing you. Every single plan that is submitted for all of these 11 will have on it all of the policies in the plan that it is complying with. And if there's a policy it is not complying with, it is mandatory that it be written on the plan. It has the potential variability that the code may offer to this design as it moves forward to final site plans. And of course, the information that your staff went over as well. The master site plan is reviewed by the board. The final site plans, the requirement is that final site plans can be as small as a block on two sides of the street. Every time a final site plan comes in, and this is language in the code, it has to create place. A final site plan that has homes on two sides of the street would potentially have 20 to 24 homes. This is not unlike your master site plans, minor master site plans that are reviewed at staff level, under the threshold of 50 units. Same thing with the commercial. The graphics are required to show what development would look like. This is what is understood as a mansion apartment house. When apartments come in, these are not 200-foot long complexes of apartments and big fields of parking. These are apartments and small increments of residential development that has to fit within that character as this moves forward. If you zoom in to those plans that are part of this mandatory submittal, while these lots are considered at this point illustrative, they are done to prove to your staff that the program that is being proposed fits exactly in these drawings. So you can go in there, look at each one of these lots, measure each one of these lots. When we come to final site plan, what this plan will have is an added sort of name, acronym, and it will explain this is the 50 mixed-use building, this is the 55 single-family. So from there to there, nothing changes other than identifying which each one of those is. Again, this is one of the 7 documents that is required for the review of this master site plan. As mentioned before, all the data is here. We are mandated, and your staff pushed while we were approving the code, to guarantee that there will be retail on the ground floor around the park over time. Remember, we were doing this code when everything with retail was just becoming very uncertain. And so, yes, while there will be mandatory retail around the Newfield Square, as you can see in all of the T5 areas, there will be additional retail, which amounts to that 70% of the total entitlement that your staff was mentioning. When we go into final site plan, again, this is the same plan, each one of those square feet and the amount proposed gets tied to a building. The plan doesn't change, variations are very minimal. Parking standards. Parking standards have been submitted with this site plan as well. When you look at the number of units that are being proposed, how they're distributed in the transects, your staff can look at this and tell that, for example, this master site plan will have 277 parking spaces for retail, 238 parking spaces for office, and about 1,450 parking spaces for residential units. So all those, again, are pretty clearly laid out in the mandatory package that is submitted to evaluate the master plan. An element that your master plans don't have today to guarantee walkability is the size of the block. So you have a document that guarantees the perimeter of each block. As we get closer to the downtown, we want that perimeter to be smaller to ensure walkability. So yes, could a block go from having a perimeter of 1,155 feet to 1,232 feet? Yes, but it could never be much larger than what the code permits. There is a mandatory requirement that no home be within more than 800 feet of a green. Could the green shift half a block over or not? Yes, provided that it is not beyond 800 feet. And as you can see here, there's more than one green within 800 feet of most homes. Again, three-dimensional vision of what those homes would, how they would front these parks, how they would address the street and the greens. Your staff also was very adamant about taking stormwater to the next level. While the entire property satisfies the stormwater requirements, with the lakes and the conventional way of dealing with stormwater, internally, there's a thing that's called the light imprint stormwater requirements. This is a first in your plan. This requires stormwater elements that are incorporated into the development, and you can start to see some of those new stormwater techniques and how and where they're going to be in your master site plan. Again, this is above and beyond any stormwater requirement in the conventional way that it is calculated in the county. Your staff showed you the streetscapes. Every street is detailed. Every sidewalk width is detailed. The distance at which every tree is planted is detailed. All that information has been submitted. So just, again, to augment staff's presentation, the one master plan that is approved is not a standalone document. It's part of this package that is used to review this entire master site plan. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Commissioner Hurd?
Yes, the master site plan that's before us today has approval for 1,251 units, over 3,000 people. And this plan, the master plan, has a requirement for a 35,000 square foot grocery store?
It is proposing and up to 35,000 square foot grocer, that when you look at either this one and right here, or even the illustrative plan that is part of it. Let me show you. Sorry, I can't jump back. Right there.
Yeah. Our large Publix, like the one on Cove Road and the one in Palm City, are about 58,000 square
Yeah,
feet?
Publix has two models. They have a 28,000 and a 48,000. The community here was really not looking for that model. They were looking for more of the urban farm-to-table types, and that's what we are trying to attract to this community. Those normally range from 18,000 square feet anywhere to 32,000 square feet.
For
the grocer.
Yeah,
I don't know
for
if I'm allowed to say brands.
somewhere
we don't
between
have-
3,500 and 4,000 people in this first phase?
Yes.
Okay. The conservation lands and have the same land use and zoning as the developed lands?
The conservation lands have two transit zones. They have T1 and T2 transit zones. T1 zones is usually where your PAMP 1 is, where areas, all of your wetlands, areas that would not be impacted by any other sort of recreational use. In your T2 zones, you could have agriculture and the CSA, some recreation fields, and that is right here. Well, you can. That's the darker green is your T1 transit zones. That is being approved today as well. It's part of your PAMP 1 and PAMP 2, and the lighter green is your T2 zones. And then the lighter green is your civic, which is outlined here as well.
And the land use on these is?
The land use on everything is your MU land use, which applies to the 3,400 acres.
All right. Another concern that I have, because of the example that we have directly to our south in Palm Beach County, is the Ag Reserve and the ongoing battle that the Board of County Commissioners there has, because they're constantly being pressured to change the Ag Reserve into urban lands, and they relent practically every time. So a fear is that by keeping the land use the same as on the conservation lands as the developed lands, that it's a development reservation. That when this part gets, when the 11 phases get built, that there will be so much pressure on the conservation lands to convert to urban uses also, because after all, they've got the right land use.
Right. So two things. The Ag Reserve, the problem they have is that they have the tier system. I was at the Regional Planning Council when the county was approving that, and they had a recommendation not to go that route from the Regional Planning Council because the tier system maintained underlying densities, much like a lot of the areas outside Martin County's urban service boundary, where they maintain 20 and 5 acre development. In this case, what has been done, A, through the MU, and B, through the additional assurances that Mr. Kiplinger has to establish as per the DA upon the 50th unit, this land has been completely stripped of development rights. There's not 5 acre or 20 acre ranchettes like the tier system in the Ag Reserve. And in addition to that, there will be a conservancy and easements above that that guarantee that over time, even if boards change, there's an additional legal system that can't allow for development to happen.
But until the 50th unit is built, there is no density stripped from any of those parcels. And we're not
yes,
going...
it is. It's already been stripped. There is zero density outside those 11 units. It's in the transit zones, it's in your comp plan, it's in your regulating plan. There is zero density in all of those green areas right now.
It has the same preserve area management plan practice as we use throughout Martin County to preserve areas. So it has the same protection as every development approved by the board.
I'm looking at the PAMP requirements. All eradication will be through hand cutting and herbicide application. Are glyphosates going to be used?
Do you want to answer?
I'd like to introduce Sean McCarthy, our environmental planner.
Hi, Sean McCarthy, environmental planner for growth management. It depends on the environment they're in. So if they're in aquatic type environments, there's herbicides that are listed for those type of environments. Glyphosate specifically, it's not spelled out either prohibited or allowable in the PAMP. It goes along what the state allows to be used with, as long as someone has an herbicide applicator's license, they can use those chemicals.
Okay, so no prohibition. Under current circumstances, the Newfield CDD will take initial responsibility to fund restoration, maintenance, and management of PAMP 1 conservation area, presumably PAMP 2 also. What does that mean by initial responsibility? What's the ongoing responsibility?
I think that's semantics. Right from day one, the CDD will take on those responsibilities. Mr. Kiplinger is also looking at setting up a conservancy, and potentially the conservancy will provide additional resources on top of that. But it's the CDD. Initially, should have been from the beginning, semantics.
So it's conceptual that would be taken care of, but
No.
we're not going to have another
No,
public
it's not
hearing on this,
conceptual.
so-
It's who's going to be taking care of it.
I don't see the written requirement.
Okay. Well, maybe if we need to clarify it, we can clarify it.
Are you talking about the maintenance requirements in the preserve areas?
Yeah.
Yes, those are all spelled out in the preserve area management plans that are getting approved today. So that work will start immediately. Right? Yeah, those PAMPs will be, as they are in the agenda item, those are enforced upon approval.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Campy?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Ms. Camblor, thank you for that presentation. I will tell you, I've had the privilege of meeting with Mr. Kiplinger when he first reached out to me in January of 2017 as the district commissioner to share with me what his vision was. And I believe that Mr. and Mrs. Kiplinger have long had a vision of a legacy. This is not just a development project for the Kiplinger family. I remember when we've met, he kept saying legacy, legacy. You know, he's not a young man, but he's not an old man either. But you get to a certain point in your life where you start thinking about, like, what are you leaving behind? Some of us, it's families, some of it's businesses. The Kiplinger family has the opportunity to leave something grander. And I know that the project will take decades, and we all wish you a very long and healthy life, Mr. Kiplinger, but this will most likely, I think reasonably, will take longer than Mr. Kiplinger and the family will be able to realize the completed full project. I think that's just from the beginning what the plan is that it'll take a long, long time.
Boy, oh boy, Knight, I'm not so
Yeah.
sure about that.
Happy holidays.
Yeah, it's like...
And
Nice-
with that in
nice
mind,
job,
you know, I have been sitting up here for 8 years, but I've been involved for about 12, and I know some of my colleagues have been up here for decades and have seen thousands of plans come before the county. I think this morning what Ms. Camblor had presented is the most detailed and thoughtfully planned out project that's ever been submitted to the county. She can tell you the number of, you know, she was half kidding, but I know that it's factual that if you zoomed in on some of these areas, you can count the parking spaces around a baseball field.
Oh, yeah.
and you can count how many trees will be down the street. I mean, you literally could take today's plan and start building from it, the shape and the sizes, and then you go to the watercolors and the artist renderings that are then turned into computer-generated designs. You can almost envision standing in on these streets. So although I appreciate my colleagues' detailed analysis and review of the plan, which is her job, I think this is a case in point where we can rest assured that what the Kiplinger vision is what they want it to be, and the family's not going to be out there working, most likely not moving earth and building these buildings. They're going to obviously have to collaborate with other companies and developers and manufacturers and people that are going to try to, as Commissioner Hurd said, push the family off the original vision of this project. And I think the way that this has been submitted to us is almost not only to ensure Martin County residents that what they see today will be built tomorrow, it's the Kiplingers' way to make sure that their partners in development have to do exactly what he wants. And I think that that's a remarkable process, and I would like to see other developers and landowners that are bringing projects forward have such a clear vision that they present to us and to our constituents that the developers don't have the ability. And I agree with Commissioner Hurd. Developers down the road, if there's an easier way or a less expensive way or a faster way, will potentially push to make a change from what we're looking at today. But when you're counting the trees down the street, I don't think the Kiplinger family or the people, the experts that they've brought in to consult with them, have any tolerance for allowing this project to get away from them. And that's why I have been supportive since the beginning, because we're all staking a little piece of our reputations on what would happen in our community. And if something like this only comes along every 50 years, this is the right group to bring this project forward. And I'm thrilled to have it in District 5. I think a lot of my constituents are as well. And I would make a motion to accept staff's recommendation as presented after public comment. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Campy. Commissioner Smith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I don't know if in my 20 years of doing this, you'd ever have a conversation where you would say, maybe with what I'm about to say relative to this project. I don't know that we've ever had a project come to us of residential, retail, commercial, industrial development that you would suggest that it was a gift to our community. We have benefited from development in Martin County, but I don't know that you could really step back and say we are being given a world-class opportunity to have something incredibly special. And in this case, I think we are. As Ed was just kind of walking through his comments, and I have no doubt that you're going to be here for another 30 years, so take Ed's age issues and set them aside, I think. You know, probably the one town, the one place that you could maybe really point to that has this kind of vision, this kind of detail, would maybe be Coral Gables down in Miami. If you were to think about all of Florida and really point to some spectacular, amazing places, they're a handful. There are some great towns in Florida, but I think of Coral Gables being probably one of the more specially laid out architecturally, really incredibly well thought through ideas. And the gift that we have been given, and I'm going to say it that way for a reason, is that this property could have gone a very, very different direction. Knight, I think, in most of his explanations to the community when he talks to them or talks to someone one-on-one, is that you absolutely could have taken the easy way out on this property and said, you know what, we're going to do it what it is, and all of the ideas that have gone into preserving the land, the water quality, the detail that Ed was talking about earlier and Marcella laid out in her presentation wouldn't occur. And you could have had thousands of acres go into development that at the end of the day, if somebody looked back after that 30 years, would have said, nah, you know, that's another South Florida neighborhood. It wouldn't have stood out as something incredibly iconic, incredibly special, and something that I think all of us will look back on and go, man, that was really cool to be part of that. So when I talk about a gift, and the timing is perfect for the holiday season that we're in, again, I said this last week and I'll say it again, thank you to the Kiplingers for being part of our community, and having the foresight, the want, the desire to create something incredibly special. As Ed pointed out, a legacy that I have every expectation that the Kiplinger family will be around to see that legacy fulfill itself. But, you know, the level of detail and the level of thought, how this whole thing has been formed up, you really wish you could apply this level of detail to everything that happens in Martin County. We would have had, I think, over the last 30 or 40 years, a much better community had we had something like this in place 30 or 40 years ago when comprehensive planning was envisioned in the first place. I think what you have given us, both Marcelo, the entire team has created, had that been done 40 years ago with comprehensive planning and growth management for the state, you'd have much better communities than we ended up with over the last 40 years. And this, I think, really should step into everybody's thought process by saying, if you're going to do a large tract of land, if you're really going to go do something as is being done with this piece, you really ought to look at what these guys did to create this for us. So thank you to the Kiplinger family. Thank you to the team. It is an amazing gift because of what it could have become that it didn't. It will be something incredibly special for all of us. And I can't wait to look back 20 or 30 years from now and go that I got to be a part of saying yes to this. So if there wasn't a second to Ed's motion, I will second his motion, again, pending public comment.
Great, thank you. And I would just like to commend this team. You know, it's been years. I've been up here for 2 years now, and prior to sitting up here, I had the opportunity of sitting down with Mr. Kiplinger and him addressing any questions I had. So that was several years ago. And the amount of public outreach that you have done on the forefront, I commend you and encourage others to do the same, you know, to reach out to our public and have them have all their questions concerned. And I anticipate that will continue as well. So Commissioner Jenkins?
So don't let my silence be my lack of enthusiasm on this, but everything I had to say has been said like 4 or 5 times now, so I will stop.
We have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Campy, seconded by public comment. Okay, I do not have any public speakers forms. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to comment? Or Mr. Merker, is there anyone on Zoom? No. Okay.
Commissioner Hurd's got something.
Then, yes, Commissioner Hurd.
I do. The single most important responsibility Martin County residents value when they vote for their county commissioners is how we review and approve development. They should demand transparency, predictability, accountability. Our taxpayers don't want us to cede policy-making, decision-making to staff, and yet this does. Chapter 11 is design standards, and it gives over authority for final site plan approval to the county administrator. It also gives over any proposed variation from the requirements of this article shall be reviewed by the county administrator. I know that that's not what the residents of Martin County want and expect from us. They expect for us to make those final decisions, not to cede them to staff. So because of the disappearance of public participation, I'm not going to support this.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Campy, seconded by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Opposed.
The motion carries 4-1 with Commissioner Hurd dissenting. We We are going to proceed now to public hearing number 1, Newfield, request for approval of the petition to establish the Newfield Community Development District.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. Once again, Peter Walden with the Growth Management Department. This is a request to establish the Newfield Community Development District pursuant to Chapter 190 of the Florida statutes. The Newfield CDD would encompass 2,212 acres of the Newfield project. The project is located west of the Florida Turnpike and south of C-23 Canal in Palm City. CDDs are a statutory, and let me go. CDDs are a statutory mechanism created to manage and finance basic community development services. A CDD established is not a development order. All government planning, environmental, and land development laws, regulations, and ordinances apply to all development of the land within a CDD. CDDs do not have the power of a local government to adopt a comprehensive plan, building code, or land development code. A CDD cannot take any action that is inconsistent with applicable comprehensive plans, ordinances, or regulations of the applicable local government. Section 190.005 sets forth 2 methods for establishing a CDD. A CDD with an area of more than 2,500 acres would be pursuant to a rule adopted by the state. The method for the establishment of a CDD of less than 2,500 acres, as in this case, is pursuant to an ordinance adopted by the County Commission of the county having jurisdiction over the majority of the land in the area in which the CDD is to be located. Section 190 lists 6 factors that must be considered by the Board of County Commissioners in its deliberations regarding the Newfield CDD. Staff have evaluated the criteria and determined that the criteria has been met. A detailed review of the criteria is set forth in the staff report, which is part of the agenda. General and special powers. In addition to the general powers authorized by sections 190.001 and 190.012 Florida statutes, the petitioner has requested that some of the special powers set forth in section 190.012 be granted. The BCC has the discretion whether to consent to the requested special powers as set forth in the draft ordinance. Staff recommends that the BCC grant the special powers as authorized and described in section 190.012 of Florida statutes regarding parks and facilities for indoor and outdoor recreational, cultural, and educational uses, and in section 190.012 2D regarding security, including but not limited to guardhouses, fences, and gates, electronic intrusion detection systems, patrol cars when authorized by proper governmental agencies. Development review staff have reviewed the petition for the establishment of the Newfield Community CDD and find the petition to be consistent with Chapter 190 Florida statutes. Therefore, we recommend that the board move to receive and file the agenda item along with the staff report as Exhibit 1 and move that the board approve the petition for the Newfield Community Development District through the adoption of the attached ordinance. That concludes my presentation. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Commissioner Hurd.
Yeah, among the general powers granted to a CDD are to borrow money and accept gifts, to apply for and use grants or loans of money or other property from the United States, the state, a unit of local government, or any person, to borrow money and issue bonds, certificates, warrants, notes, or other evidence of indebtedness, to levy tax and special assessments as may be authorized, and to charge, collect, and enforce fees and other user charges, to assess and impose upon lands in the district ad valorem taxes, to determine, order, levy, impose, collect, and enforce special assessments. So it's a taxing district, much like the county.
Maybe I'll let Krista follow through with that question.
Pete, do you have the statute
Yes.
that you can, so you've got that as one of your attachments, right?
Yes.
So,
State your name for the record.
I'm sorry, Krista Story, Senior Assistant County Attorney. So the CDDs, Commissioner, without looking at the statute, I'm assuming you're reading from the statute, but I don't know that. So those general powers are established by state law, and the county, if the county approved a community development district, we do not have the authority to deviate from the special powers, the general powers that are established. So yes, because the intent of a community development district is to allow the financing of infrastructure, the state has established the parameters within which that would occur. So you appear to have been reading directly from the statute, and these are in fact the general powers that would be given to the community development district.
How many other community development districts has Martin County approved?
Just one for the Indian Town DRI, but it was never really followed through with.
So, excuse me, would you repeat that, please?
It never, due to the recession, it never went anywhere. It dissolved, it never met any annual reports, it just didn't take place.
But the county recommended approval and approved?
And that is my understanding.
In 2008, so the ordinance, the provision of our code in which this ordinance would be added is within Chapter 71, Finance and Taxation, Article 10, Special Districts. The prior community development district, which the petitioner, I believe, was Iron Gate, came forward to the Board of County Commissioners in 2008, and that was codified. And as Mr. Walden indicated, after that time, I do not believe there was any activity. That was related to one of the DRIs that did not move forward.
Is this the same taxing district that Harmony sought?
It's a community development district. That is the same request. However, this is because of the size, this is a decision for the Board of County Commissioners to make. The size of the Harmony Community Development District required it to go through the alternative statutory process. A consideration, the Board of County Commissioners did hold a public meeting regarding it. Then it went to a hearing officer with the Division of Administrative Hearings and on to the Governor and Cabinet.
Thank you.
Does the applicant have a presentation to make for this?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Marcella Camblor for the record. With us here today, too, is Todd Wodraska. He's our specialist consultant. He's principal of Special District Services. Some of you know him from being the mayor of the town of Jupiter. And he's helped us with this petition and will assist with the management of the CDD, should that be approved. To clarify about whether this is the same as Harmony or not, this property at 3,400 acres could have followed the state process. Mr. Kiplinger is a firm believer in home rule, a firm believer in working with the local government. So,
Can I interrupt just for 1 second, Madam Chair?
yes.
Sarah, as I keep hearing this
Okay.
other neighborhood be brought up as an example, we are in active litigation, is that not correct with
Okay.
the other place?
It is
I would
correct.
suggest that we not use reference or not compare, not, Marcel, I mean, I don't.
No, I was trying to clarify how different it was, that's
Yeah,
all.
I'm just suggesting,
Yes.
at least from my
Agreed.
perspective, that we stay out of that.
They are two different things.
Yes. Sorry, I was trying to clarify the item that had been brought up. But Mr. Kiplinger consulted with Mr. Wodraska and reduced the size of the CDD to the area encompassed inside the urban service boundary, which is 2,212 acres, and that allows the process to be discussed and decided at the local level with no intervention from the state. The purpose, as was mentioned by your staff, is to fund, to maintain, and to operate the infrastructure and some of the amenities, like streets, small parks, the playgrounds. But it also is the tool that allows the developer to advance the public infrastructure, like the library and road connections and a lot of the fields and public recreation facilities. These get significantly advanced and then paid for by the CDD, and then that's the reimbursement through the impact fees that you had, that we discussed at the beginning. It is possible to use the CDD for some of that funding. The CDD borrows money through the sale of tax-free revenue bonds. It borrows on the project's credit. It does not borrow on the county's account or credit. Repayment for all of these bonds come from an annual fee that is paid by those who live in Newfield, not by anyone else in the county. No one that is not in Newfield gets taxed by this CDD. Sorry, it's crunching the screen. As was mentioned, the CDD can assume maintenance responsibilities like the PAMP and other improvements in the preserve areas. It can levy non-ad valorem special assessments, again, only upon properties in the CDD, and purchase, finance, and maintain the public infrastructure that was mentioned. Things that the Newfield CDD cannot do. It cannot deviate from the comprehensive plan. It does not have regulatory authority, land use authority, zoning authority. It cannot approve any sort of development. It does not have the ability to approve, change, vary any of your development orders. It cannot, by any means, indebt the county. And it's not a mechanism for incorporation. There are, in fact, about 700 CDDs currently operating in Florida. It's, again, a mechanism. And as we know, incorporations here were not tied to CDDs. It's a mechanism for funding improvements. The application lists the first 5 board of supervisors. Mr. Kiplinger worked very closely trying to find on this board that have deep roots and ties to the community and great knowledge of development and support of our natural environment and our community and our character. In many cases, CDDs get done and consultants are put on the board. This is something that Mr. Kiplinger was adamant about not doing. He truly wanted people that had deep ties and cared about our community in that first board. The benefits of having this CDD is to the county, it guarantees that growth will pay for itself. It's the CDD and those involved in this project that have to pay for the impacts and the infrastructure. It builds up the ad valorem tax base and usually allows for that to happen much quicker. And as mentioned initially, it allows for the advancement of public facilities like the library and road connections necessary for fire response time. To the property owner, it allows to lower some of the initial development costs, which in turn allow to provide for more affordable housing, which has been a principal tenet of this project to ensure housing affordability. And it's also important that the guarantee to residents and to the landowner that this board that reviews all of the improvements and expenditures operates under the sunshine. And then finally, to the landowner, it allows for tax-exempt financing. It allows to finance the public necessary infrastructure, and as I mentioned, housing affordability. As Pete mentioned this, staff has reviewed the application. It is consistent with the Florida statutes chapter that guide CDDs and the recommendation of approval of this process. I am happy to answer questions, as is Mr. Wodraska.
Marcella, I have a question.
Yes.
Because we talked a lot about residential. Do the commercial properties also pay into a CDD, or is it residential?
All the properties that are inside of the CDD are taxed.
So regardless
Yeah,
of what their
regardless,
land
yeah.
use or what kind of development it is, the commercial as
I believe
well?
that just like in the county, those that are not taxed, like civic buildings, wouldn't be paying, schools or the library, but commercial properties and residential properties and industrial properties do pay. So long as they're within that boundary, yes.
And is there any risk, this may be for staff or it might be, is there any risk to the county, financial risk, entering into the CDD, Ms. Woods?
No, ma'am. It does not, it is not backed by the county's credit.
Okay. And Commissioner Campy?
Thank you very much. To me, this seems like a funding mechanism because if you remember in our last two agenda items, it was clearly laid out the level of infrastructure, drainage, public services that need to be created when you're starting a project like this, but all of that is prior to any kind of home sales. There's really no revenue generation. It's just a tremendous outlay, and I think that this mechanism is appropriate for a project of this size simply because what we are requiring of the applicant to do up front, without an option like this, there'd be, unless you had tremendously deep pockets, or you became affiliated with larger corporations that are in the development business, which then there's the possibility of losing some of your control of the specific vision. So with that in mind, I move staff's recommendation for approval.
I'd like to second that motion.
I knew that was coming.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Campy, seconded by Commissioner Jenkins. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
The motion carries 4-1 with Commissioner Hurd dissenting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have reached, it looks like lunchtime. And we will reconvene at 1:30, and we will see you back here.